John Joseph. Do you go just by John Joseph? I know what your last name really is.
John Joseph McGowan. John Blood Clot Joseph. I used to sing with a band called Blood Clot. Jayananda Das is my spiritual name. It means all glories to the ecstasy of eternal happiness. I guess I try to be a happy person.
And you're the lead singer with the wonderful...
For the Cro-Mags. It's about the message behind the band. We've gotten tens and thousands of people to change, you know, what they're eating. And we don't preach, but we just live by example. Example's better than precept. A lot of people talk. We try to live it. I grew up tough life in New York, foster families. My father was a pro fighter. Beat my mom constantly. The state took us out of the house.
Wow.
Raised in abusive foster homes. Went to jail, on the streets, the whole nine yards. So when people see someone who's overcome great obstacles, I don't say I'm a great person because I don't believe I believe anybody could do it, but in Bhagavad Gita it says, what great men do, common men follow. So not that I think whatever, but I just saw people ahead of me overcoming so many obstacles like bad brains and everything else. The group that inspired me, Srila Prabhupada, crossing 2 oceans to come here, so we just have to follow in their footsteps and be positive and help other people. That's really what I try to emulate.
Yes. And is this how you became interested in food?
I credit the bad brains because I was eating meat and everything, and they were surrounded by, they're vegetarian. Their sound man was a raw foods guy. He hooked me up with Viktoras Kavinskis. I saw his lectures. I mean, I really came into it from the whole raw food aspect. Initially, I stopped eating meat because they were like, well, you could come on the road with us. And I loved the band so much, I would have done whatever they say, because it was like, you know, if you know about Bad Brains, they influenced every single band that's out there today. So I just wanted to be around them in the energy. I mean, I had just gotten out of jail. I went AWOL from the Navy. I was just so messed up and confused. Drugs, fighting, got stabbed. So basically, they were like, you can come out with us, but you can't do drugs and you can't eat meat. And I was like, all right. And then my life changed ever since then. Once I stopped consuming the life force and the flesh of animals, my life changed. And 31 years later, here I am still, and paying it forward. That's what I do now. I train people, I don't charge people, I do nutritional counseling. Not that I'm an expert, but I point them in the direction of the experts in what I do and what works for me, because I'm very concise, and when someone tells me something, I write it down. I try to really apply it. A lot of people have the knowledge, but they don't apply it. It's useless if that's the way you're doing it.
All of this brought you to writing a book, a self-published book.
Right.
And the title itself has had a lot of controversy.
Yeah. Well, the book's called Meat is for Pussies, and, you know, that's basically a term in New York if someone's calling you a wimp. And I was told by some weightlifter that didn't know I was vegan. He thought that I was dissing, as they say, vegans. And then I was like, dude, you know, I've been eating this way for 30 years. When I told my friend who puts the book out, he said that you got to throw it back in their face because, you know, there's been so much stuff that, oh, you need meat to be manly. And it's like, give me a friggin' break, you know? The first line of the book, who propagated this bullshit that meat makes you macho? My guess is it's the same assholes that told you the Marlboro Man was a stud, you know? So many misconceptions with the whole thing. I got Dr. Fred Vichy to do the forward. Dr. Vichy's been where he has a PhD in nutritional science. He's healed hundreds and hundreds of people, put people's cancer in remission just through raw foods and his whole process that he's been doing clinical studies for years. I mean, he's really the expert of the whole raw foods movement. I just happened to see him at Caravan of Dreams, another great place, all vegan, raw, a lot of raw food, a lot of organic. And this girl was like, walked up, and I knew I recognized him from seeing him, but I just couldn't place it. And this girl walked up and she's like, you know, God bless you for everything that you've done to help people. And I was like, when she walked away, I got up and I was like, who is that again? And then she said, that's Dr. Fred Vichy. And then I just sat back down. I was like, dude, man, I want to shake your hand. I'm like, I've been following your stuff. Anyway, I asked him to do the forward to the book, and he said, well, I can't do it unless I read it because I'm not going to put my name on something. So I gave him the manuscript, and he called me back a week later. He's like, John, this book's a real kick in the nuts that these guys need. He goes, I'll do it. And then he wrote the forward to the book. And, you know, I try to keep it in a very conversational kind of prose, like I'm talking to you.
And if I may say, reading it from a woman's point of view, I really felt that it's written for men.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly enough, we keep tabs of who buys the book, and a majority of the book sales have been to women who are trying to get their men to change what the hell they're eating. And they're like, this dude is the guy who speaks your language. Here you go. Because, like I say, I'm a regular dude, man. I've done construction. I've done everything. I'm just a regular dude. I happen to be imparted with this knowledge. You know, sometimes the mother puts the medicine in chocolate soy milk, but the baby still gets the effect. It just doesn't know that he's eating the medicine. So similarly, we have to talk the talk in a way they understand, but really when they read the book and get sucked into it, it's like little by little I start getting into, and I didn't really get too heavy on it. I'm saving that for the next book where it's like really breaking. I'm developing like a following of people who are following what I'm doing. So the next book I'll get a little more in depth, but my acronym for this book was KISS, K-I-S-S, Keep It Simple Stupid.
You even tour in other countries. You sell it in other countries, don't you?
Yes, since the whole, you know, country of Europe has opened up. I mean, we've been going over there since the wall was up and, you know, the borders and everything. But now it's just so open. Everybody speaks English, so it's, you know, we have no problem communicating. But yeah, it's a little harder to get in Europe, but you know, I'm building a resume of books, and then eventually we'll have them translated. But one of the great things, what I do, I use it about the book as a reference manual with a lot of websites, a lot of documentaries for people to check out, so that people can go on and continue to search on their own. What I loved about this book was the amount of people who said, you know, you get this whole thing of competition of authors outselling each other. See, to me, I don't believe that should be part of this movement, because the movement is supposed to be to help people. Right. So everybody was so loving and really wanting to get involved, because, you know, I mean, Rory Friedman and everybody who did Skinny Bitch was like, dude, you're the guy that's going to reach these knuckle dragger meatheads. And they all, you know, gave me every, you know, quotes, whatever I needed. Even so much as getting on the phone when I'd meet somebody and they'd be like, oh man, that dude, and then I'd call them up and be like, yo, you know, here, talk to him yourself. You know, so really, we have to work together.
Oh, absolutely. There's room for all of us, and there's a need for all of us.
Right, exactly.
But you really do fill a space that I think hadn't been filled previously to this, and so I appreciate all of your work. Let's get down to brass tacks or brass knuckles or whatever you want.
Give it to me, baby.
When somebody says to you, oh, I want to be vegan, but I really can't do that, what is the first thing you say to them?
I say, you know what your worst enemy is? Your own mind. And I said that to the guy I was working out with today, because although he was able to do every single exercise that I put him through, he let his mind defeat him before he ever, and I just stopped him. Every time I told him, yeah, we're going to do this amount, he would be, I don't know, man. And I'm like, look, you're letting your mind defeat you ahead of the whole process. And the mind is the strongest tool that we have. The mind could be your best friend or your worst enemy. It says that in the Bhagavad Gita. You know, the mind is a tool. You use, you know, the mind properly engaged is your best friend. So anybody can do it. It's very easy. As a matter of fact, I don't really advocate a lot of the fake meat, because I don't really eat it that much. Maybe a little seitan here and there, but the great thing about, and the history of the whole fake meat stuff, it's so easy now to give up meat. You want chicken here, eat Gardein, man.
Right.
They got every damn thing you could ever want, and it's organic, and it doesn't harm the environment, it doesn't harm you, and it doesn't harm the animals. And the history of all that fake meat stuff originated in China because the monks would tell the king, 2 phases of the moon a month, you need to not eat meat. It will be good karma for the whole kingdom. So the monks, when he would have to fast from meat on those 2 days a month, the monks would prepare dishes that looked like meat and everything so that the king wouldn't miss it, but yet he still got the benefits of abstaining from animal flesh on those particular days. So I tell a lot of the people, I say, yo, you feel like you need that texture, you need to do whatever, go ahead and get Gardein, go ahead and go here and eat seitan, skewers, whatever it is. Ultimately, you're going to phase that stuff out, like Fred Bishi's website, any doubt, leave it out. Eventually, your body will start telling you. Now, if I go to these fake Chinese places and eat that stuff, I get aches and headaches the next day. Your body will tell you eventually. But the main thing is, the more you can leave out meat from your diet, it's going to help the planet. Everyone's talking about the, going green and all this stuff, and it's just a farce. If you don't take out the equation of the amount of resources and the amount of petrol and greenhouse gases that are put into the environment because of the meat industry, then you're missing out on like the biggest polluters of the environment. Is these meat, dairy, eggs, fish, all this stuff is, the big polluters of the environment.
You are also working out a lot, even these days, and would you tell us how old you are and how great you look?
I'm turning 49 Monday,
Wow.
October 3rd.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Doing an Ironman later in 2012, August, my first one. I'll be doing some races leading up to it. But yeah, I mean, yesterday I biked 40 miles and I ran 10. I mean, I train every day. For me, it's, like they say, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So I'm working on the second book. I'm working on a screenplay, adapting my first book. I'm training. I'm working with people.
When you work out in the morning, do you eat anything at all before you work out?
Well, it depends what I'm actually doing. If I'm going on a bike ride, that's 50 miles, obviously I want to eat something. I'm not going to starve myself. But today, I ate late last night. It's all time and circumstance. And nothing is set in stone. So, I'm actually a Vega ambassador, which is a great line of products. I endorse everywhere I go because it works. I use it. It was designed by Brendan Brazier, Vega sequel. So I used the pre-workout supplement today, which is a powder, and it, because I ate late and I only did maybe 45 minutes in the gym, I didn't need to eat a whole big meal before I went to the gym. It's, you don't need to do that. So I had a little of the Vega sequel pre-workout formula, which gives you just enough carbs and everything to get through the workout and energy, maca, and this, and I felt fine, and then I did some fruit, a nice protein shake at the end with coconut, whole food optimizer by Vega, and chia seeds and all kinds of stuff for recovery, and I feel fine. Right now I could walk out the door and run a marathon if I had to.
You mentioned chia seeds. That's something we've heard about a lot, but most people think of the chia pet.
Chia! I remember it back in the day.
And we didn't think about eating it so much, but the seeds itself, we always thought about growing it.
Well, they're
How
loaded.
do you use it? How do you use it?
Well, 2 ways. I mean, you have to soak them, obviously, for the body to break them down. So I'll soak them for, 40 minutes in coconut water, and they'll become like gelatin. And I'll put them in shakes, or I'll have chia seed porridge, which is another great thing with like almond, custard, and stuff like that.
So how do you make that?
Well, there's recipes to do it. I haven't made the porridge myself, to be quite honest with you, but there's great places like the Juice Press here in New York, which does it, or Quintessent, but you know, to put it in the shake, you get the same nutritious benefits, and they're loaded with omegas. They're just super protein and carbs. I mean, there's guys in South America that run, you know, 50-mile runs on nothing but chia seeds. So they're an amazing superfood.
Yeah, and I see them in stores now in big bags when I've never seen them before.
Like you have to make sure they're organic and you know. But yeah, I've been using chia for a bit now, and it really helps. I do the EFA oils, you know, either Udo's oil or Vega EFA oils, which provide all three. By the way, they're also very high in the omegas, as I said, and I do a little, you know, Udo's oil or whatever in my shakes.
So in your book, I saw a really easy recipe using quinoa, the other really great grain.
Yeah, I've been eating quinoa for a long time. It provides protein and a complex carbohydrate. Goes great with everything. It's so easy to make. It's, you know, really delicious. You can just put some sesame tahini over it, or, you know, eat it by itself. It has a nutty flavor. But there's so many stuff that people have never heard of, like quinoa, amaranth, you know, there's so many super grains, and it's like, you know, America is like Uncle Ben's converted rice. It's got, you know, this is the microwave society, and that's what we have. And one of the things I always talk about, and I talk about in my book, and I'm going to tell you a really funny little anecdote about this Muay Thai fighter that is in my gym. I gave him the book, and I went on tour in Europe. I came back 3 weeks later, and I seen him in the gym, and he walks up and he's like, man, he's like, fuck you, man. Like, but he said it with a smile. I was like, why, what's up? He's like, I can't just eat anything I want now. Now I find myself, I go to grab it, and I pick it up, and I'm about to put it in my cart, and then I'm like, I gotta stop and read it. And I was like, that's the first sign of intelligence. I call it the stop and think mechanism, where we have to not just be dragged to hell by our senses and our tongue. You know, Sarira Vijayadu Janjiya Taikal, in Bengali, it means the tongue is the most difficult and voracious sense of all the senses to control. The tongue is the most difficult. It can drag you to hell, because right away, you know, they know what they're doing out here with this marketing stuff. You know exactly how to get you to eat this poison. So, you know, look how everything's placed in the supermarket. So to get him to stop and read what he was about to eat before he ate it, that's the whole thing. If you can just have that 10 seconds of your intelligence in your mind saying, yo, what is this? What's in it? And he said, you know, 9 times out of 10 when I read it, I can't pronounce half the crap, and I'm like, that's not going in my body. Any doubt, leave it out, as Dr. Bishi says. Because we don't even know it. And if you are vegan, you know, half of these things come from animal sources, so we don't even know where the hell they came from. I mean, you know, they do they process beer through the swim bladders of a fish. What mad scientist would ever try to, who came up with that? Overfeeding ducks
to
livers,
get foie gras,
you know, and my whole main beef with the whole vegan society,
main beef,
excuse, no pun intended, most of the vegans in the past, I've been doing this for a long time, most of them look very unhealthy. They don't, because they eat processed food, and now the latest studies are coming that a lot of these guys that have been doing this vegan stuff, you know, with the salt, the sugar, the oils, all this stuff, they're getting diabetes too. They're getting type 2 diabetes because they don't exercise, they're unhealthy, they eat just total nothing but processed vegan hot dogs and all this crap. That's
and also
great.
Because it's a plant food doesn't necessarily mean that you can just have as much as you want. Sugar is a plant, but
it's processed as well. That's why when a lot of people looked at the old school vegans, they're like, shit, I don't want to look like that guy. But now you look at guys like Mac Danzig, you look at guys like Rip Esselstyn, whose father did Forks Over Knives with Dr. Campbell. I mean, you look at guys like Jake Shields. You look at all these guys who are plant-based, and you're like Mike Mauler, all these guys in my book. That's why I put, you know, photos of them Robert Cheek, my other buddy's an arm wrestler. So you look at these guys and it's like, you know, these guys are doing something right. Whereas you look at, you know, most of the vegan society, most, not all, it's starting to change now. People are really starting to get the message, I think.
Right.
And that's my message of the book is cut out that processed crap as much as you can.
What has surfaced as one of the best recipes in your book?
The working man stew, the burritos, you know, the tofu scramble. Is tofu a processed food? Sure, it is. Is it better than eating scrambled eggs? Yes, it is. Of course. Nobody wants to consume the menstrual cycle of a chicken in a shell.
There we go.
But it's food in the mode of ignorance. It's, you know, there's foods in the three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And flesh foods, liquid flesh, fish, all this stuff is in the mode of ignorance. We have to raise our consciousness, and in order to do that, we need to consume foods that are in the mode of goodness. And you know what? Those just happen to be the foods that are the best for us. They'll enliven us. They'll awaken us. You know, I tend to believe that there's a big push to sedate the masses through poisonous food. That's another thing that I'm taking on in my next book, is to show that there is a type of food conspiracy going on in this country to dumb down the masses so that they're easily controlled. They're putting fluoride in the water. All these chemicals are developing behavioral problems and learning disabilities in children. That's the pesticides. That's the stuff they're spraying Monsanto all over the planet to control the organic food from growing. The chemtrail issue is it changes the pH of the soil, so the only thing that will grow will be foods that have been genetically modified to be aluminum resistant. And guess who came out with that in 2009? Monsanto. So they're up there spraying aluminum oxide, barium, strontium all over the planet, and it's affecting what's growing on the planet.
Well, what is your hope for the future in conclusion here?
My hope for the future is people keep an open mind to the knowledge that's out there. Once the glass is full, then you're done in this lifetime. I always keep my glass ready to, you know, absorb more knowledge. And, you know, my hope is that if you love the planet, if you love your children, if you love your spouse, if you love your family, then you want them to get this knowledge. You want them to really get this knowledge and put it into practice, because I've had to watch a lot of people die from cancer and dwindle away unnecessarily that didn't have to do that. If small changes even lead to big changes, so we need to take those first steps of the small change. And I really do feel this is the age of Aquarius. This is the golden period of enlightenment, and it's always the darkest before dawn. And you know, I really feel people are starting to wake up now, and the food and what we're eating and how it affects our consciousness is really the first step in changing everything. People, like I said in the book, people pay more attention to what they put in their cars than they do in their body. This is the vehicle carrying us, the living entity, our souls through this lifetime. So we need to, you know, we don't want to be in a sickly condition. Making small changes will better the planet, better yourself, and be good for the animals too, because I'm ultimately vegan because I don't want to cause unnecessary suffering to other living entities either. So that's definitely a part of it.
Thank you so much, John Joseph. You're the best. You're the best.